chance. And I think it's because mid becomes a really, really difficult area to hold, right? We have this part of the map that decides the rotations for both A and B site, and if you take control of it, it acts as kind of a hollow point where everybody on the terrorist side can split up and be able to cause fakes, or once they get a pick, be able to rotate quickly to either site. And I think maybe Nip have mid figured out better than everyone else. It's something I'm going to be looking for here in this map.
For sure, you can see that they are starting to filter their way out towards Squeaky, which is where Get Right is waiting. Can he land any frags on the cross? No, he can't. It's Draken who just jumps up, wrecks him, and in doing so, that bomb now going to get planted onto the site. So a key passage of play goes the way of Epsilon. Now it's really down to NIP. What's their retake looking like? They've got a kit, they've got flashes in Freiburg's hands, but lots of damage being inflicted in mid from Freddy now. 3 players start to fall below 20 health. This is looking very difficult for NIP. Frag does come in from Freiburg. Nice one tap. Here he goes in. Going to be charging onto Quad. 2 plays there. Second kill as well for Nip. And they're going to be going for the defuse. In the meanwhile, though, Zealous can peek out of Squeaky. He misses a couple bullets, but finally gets it locked. Oh. And you can hear the crowd is torn with everyone being Swedish. Yeah. They're just happy every frag.
Are we just excited the entire way through? 10 kills, excitement the entire way through. No, but Zealous picking up those 2 kills at the end. I mean, I'm so glad that they won it, because it seemed like up until that point they should have, but Nip on that retake looking extremely fierce. Oh, it's actually 3 kills. Wow, all from Squeaky. But Freddy being up on the boost and staying alive, and then that first kill coming out from Draken, it just seemed like Epsilon should have sealed it up right away. But good patience and a nice attempt at the retake. Not to pay off, but now has resulted in a half buy from NIP. No armor purchased, but some nades and expensive pistols.
Yeah, absolutely. They've invested quite a bit into this round in NIP. Don't get too much out of that. Although Draken is low. Interesting enough, right now as it stands, Epsilon and Cash have 19 pistol rounds. They've won 14 of them. They're up to around 75% win rate on their pistol. Wow, that's pretty nuts.
That's a huge stat.
They haven't played against top-tier teams. The only team that would get towards the top tier is Hellraisers. They lost that 16-12 as the first kill comes in from Disco Doppelin. So, nice start from Epsilon. We have already seen a bit of damage inflicted onto the Epsilon bunch. Second frag in for Disco. Now the charge is imminent. Rez picks up a frag. Bomb will get planted, albeit with a carpet of fire surrounding Zelos. And that allows Pit to actually push in. Probably going to be disappointed he didn't get more out of that, but Epsilon pull the trigger and get a second round.
Yeah, quite a good cleanup. I was kind of interested to see Nip. I think they were expecting a walk-up into A main, and for them to just have this nade dump once someone was spotted to try to do a ton of damage on whoever was executing. And typically when a team congregates towards a site versus an eco, if they plan to just group and hit it, they're going to commit to it whether or not they take some damage early on or not. So I like the thought from Nip, but it doesn't result in a frag. And now they move into this round with no armor or pistols.
As a result of their heavy commitment in the last round, Pit is going to get the kill over the USP, so that's a nice frag moving forward. Only the Mac 10, so one of the expendable weapons has been dropped from Epsilon. Shouldn't bother them too much. Looks like we are going to have a boost coming up from NIP. Good positions held from Epsilon, though. They have eyes on this, so it's going to come down to timing, I have to feel. Exist waiting in the wings, but yeah, NIP should be conceding this round as well.
No, Exist isn't going to be able to make a move here without making noise. Freiburg might cue him, though, to make one.
This allows Exist to come up from behind. This is one of the keys to success for NIP, potentially, but he doesn't have any Kevlar. He's going to be battling through it to the death, the bitter end, and now it's all on Pit, with his aforementioned low health to get it done. CZ in hand, he goes down, Epsilon 3-0.
Oh, you saw just how hard he had to fight against that aim punch. It seemed like he had both hands on his mice there, on his mouse.
But wasn't enough, unfortunately. That's why you typically want to run out the SMGs first. As I said, they're expendable, not going to cause you a great deal of pain against armor. If that had been an AK, it could have been a completely different situation altogether.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, you just turn a one tap, which is something that you can't do in a Mac 10 to do a second kill.
So, as a result of the eco, NIP have themselves full M4s. Decent, healthy dose of grenades. Got a kit as well on Exist.
Oh, here we have Epsilon just all grouped up at B. They're just going to try to explode on this site.
Forrest is running on fire. He's going to make something big happen. That's a beautiful flashbang. Keeps him at bay for a couple more seconds. Lands the headshot as well. Freiburg in the meanwhile going to get the crossfire down. Finally falls down. Now it's all across shoulders, and Zelos takes him clean off the map with a second frag as well. Down to 18, but huge plays. He's going to get that bomb planted soon. Actually going to be making sure that his teammate's close enough.
Here we have we have a minute left on the clock, right? So since his teammate is actually outside of the site, that might have made a huge difference. Just tossing that changes the round, but now we have Draken looking for a frag.
There we go.
And there it is. Oh, the bomb is planted though.
It is planted. This allows Draken to get something special done. He's been spotted just the glue on his hands, and Exist lands the headshot. Wow. You thought there that just timing was going to work against Nip as the bomb got planted, but he managed to retake all the same.
Just threw the globe at Atlas there and took him down. That was quite funny. And he could have actually stopped the plant, but I love the idea there to delay so long because, number one, Draken's so far away that he can't help, right? So if the retake comes out instantly, bomb gets defused, and ultimately there's a minute left. So they can make it seem like it's not B, work around the map, let Draken maybe find a kill, make it a 2v1. Impossible round to win from Nip's perspective there. But he took so long that Nip started to worry about their flank and consider their other options, and instead come away with a round off of a good nade and a solid retake.
Two key frags as well from Freiburg and Forrest on the site in the first place. We saw Forrest scampering away from the fire, so sort of everything completely wrecked without standing their ground whatsoever. But still leaves Nip on the brink of an economic collapse if Epsilon are successful in round 5. See FAMAS already in the hands of Pits. They are struggling a little bit for their funds. Another boost comes up from Nip. Epsilon will be feeling out the map. But of course, this is something that NIP will do on their T side. Once the threat came in, we saw this at Malmo. First off, they're very passive. They like to force the CTs into unorthodox positions. Either way, Disco thinking about peeking out. He could very well find himself on the receiving end of a battering. It's Get Right who opens up, very nearly gets the frag, but not able to get on the first one asking. Gets the second kill though to Draken, who was just behind Disco, who's on 20. And this is looking much better from NIP.
Wow. Get Right just trying to impose his will on the opponents there, just staying up on the boost this entire time. It actually has only taken about 10 damage. I mean, he could stay up here longer if he wants. He still has that high-low advantage, right? He's going to see feet before someone sees him.
Yep. And with it being a 5v2, he knows a crossfire will always go in the favor of the CT, so he doesn't have to move an inch. So Epsilon now struggling. Zelos, 20 seconds, has the bomb at least, but it can take some miraculous play for him to get anything done from this position if he even wants to go for it. He may just try and save this AK.
No, you gotta have a schizophrenic teammate on the other side to call something that isn't actually there to get it rotated out of this round. I think Zealous has not very many options. Just plans to stay alive. It's kind of in a precarious spot though. I mean, one of the closest spots to clear on the A site, but nothing happens. Another thing was when they grouped up for that B hit, you could see there was a definitive lack of explosiveness that caused Epsilon to lose. And here's Get Right just getting away with standing up here for this long. Typically you get these kills and leave. You know, you've won the round, but he sees the opportunity just for more blood.
It's such a massive player advantage. He wants to make sure he uses that to its utmost effect. And I can see Epsilon actually going for the force-up. 3 AKs, 2 Tech 9s as a result of Zelos saving the AK from the previous round, was able to drop it. The issue here is, though, is if they lose this round, then they are going to be struggling to fund themselves. And they've lost the first player. Get Right nearly gets timed off the round, but instead, Relocate does some serious damage through the smoke. Zelos down to 2. The bomb could very well be planted, but Get Right's going to be coming in. First kill goes his way in this confrontation, as does the second one. Single-handedly just taking this site back under control for the CTs. And a third for him. Wow. Easy peasy. And that force bite does yield at least a bomb plant, but they're hoping to get some kills alongside that.
I think Get Right smelled blood. I don't think he should have gotten a single one of those frags, right? That flash didn't actually do anything, so for him to push out a peek like that into a player who peeks right after a flash means that it's favorable for the terrorist, and yet he does, but telling him not to go through and try to get that 3 kills is kind of like blaming a snake for having fangs, I suppose. It's just beast mode on these guys. Now NIP have their 3 rounds to answer back. Much more to be said about them as well, considering their rifles.
Absolutely, they were 3-0 behind. You always worry a little bit the cash CT sides when that's the case, but they bounce back. The Eagles, Tech 9 P250, a bit of Kevlar thrown in the mix as well from Epsilon, so there are opportunities to maybe get the kills done, but again, it's Get Right, spamming through Squeaky. Kraken drops to 4. As do the hopes of Epsilon in this round, more than likely. Good positions as seen from NIP, heavy mid-control at the moment. Smoked off, but he has the cavalry there in the form of Exist, so not going to be able to push him anytime soon. Flash out onto mid-garage.
Okay.
Hello.
Is this like I see you?
Playing with fire. Get Right now. It's his turn to step up. And step up he shall with the first kill. There's a lot of damage to Rez. Just like that, you have to feel that NIP will be favored to take this round. Double kill for Get Right, but another one tap this time. Drake and gets picked off. Zelos is there as well with the 1 dig. This is serious economic damage that Epsilon are doing. Every kill hurts more and more for NIP. And now in a 1v2, we've seen crazier things happen than this.
Yeah, and Zealous been incredibly on point
Oh, yeah.
on a couple of these rounds. Oh, did you see that? Yeah. Whoa! Woo! He's fast.
Okay.
That was a quick frag.
This goes from being possible to very likely now, you've got to say, unless Freiburg pull off a huge play. The incendiary has connected, doesn't spread far enough to deter Zelos, who's going to be holding a close angle. Actually switched across to the orbs. I'm not sure if it's going to bounce back to haunt him. Freiburg throws out the pistol, trying to fake the flash and make a bit of noise. Up on the red container. Well played from Freiburg. Zelos had to roll the dice. Came up with Snake Eyes, he goes down. NIP with 4 consecutive rounds, but that was way too close for comfort.
Yeah, super close. I mean, the thing was, I thought that Pit gets that frag 100% of the time because he sees the M4 getting picked up, right? So super easy to telegraph that peak, but then Zealous just too quick. There's a 1 dig as well. But the damage is dealt. I mean, they didn't win the round, but they got so much more out of it than you would expect.
Doesn't put Nip into any bad weapons this round, but it's more the longer game. Losing 4 players like that can really start to catch up with you later on. But of course, Epsilon have to go with the momentum of that last round. You can't afford to just be swept aside now for free. You've got to keep that pressure applied. And look at this from NIP. Going aggressively this time, both in mid and through Squeaky, and they are being rewarded with kills. 3 come back-to-back separate plays for NIP. Exist as spotted. Zelos in this. The incendiary is going to do a lot of damage. It's going to force out the terrorist. He's going to burn alive. Does he want to get burnt or shot? The question is answered. Bullet between the eyes. And now Freddy, all that remains.
Decisions you hope to never have to make. Epsilon being put through the ringer right now are down to Freddy, and they just lost in their default once again, right? We saw Get Right basically thunderfoot through Squeaky after hearing nothing there, maybe clearing a couple things for a moment, and then coming and taking a fight long range with that M4A4 and killing his opponent without giving him a chance. NIP winning mid, winning on their push. Freddy coming out with a nice peek and a frag. And is trying to turn it into a sequence.
He has to connect more dots. Again, though, NIP will be certainly hurt economically if more kills come down. If this bomb gets planted, it does afford Epsilon more weapons going through into the next buy round. Second frag will not be forthcoming. Freiburg will lock it down with the M4. And now that is 5 rounds in a row now to NIP, so after starting very poorly, they found their form.
Epilepsy warning. Yeah, when you plant default there, Freddy knows that he has to get the plant for his teammates. He has an opt to save, but at the same time, the plant is 800 per player, so he sees more value in that. And so he goes for the safe plant, the default plant, when he could have planted on the outside of the site and then risk not being able to get the bomb down at all. But from that position, you could see, you know, with Freiburg posted up on him that there was no way for him to escape. And there was a distinct decision there to not play to win the round, but instead play for the money for his teammates.
This is where we saw Epsilon struggle as well at Dreamhack Tours when they're on the T side. A little bit uninspired, a bit caught in no man's land. So I do worry a little bit for them against a team of NIP's caliber.
Yeah.
They have crazy individual talent, but they could end up just getting choked out slowly and surely from NIP. We're going to go for the boost again. We saw this in one of the pistol rounds when they're up against it. I think it was Pit and Exist then as well.
they definitely just made noise on that boost, and that means that they've got to delay this for much longer. Hope that Epsilon think about it as something that they may or may not have heard, as opposed to, oh, he's definitely there.
Oh, Zelos was the man that was watching, but he's starting to make a move now. So what happened last time is it's the round when he had the Mac 10, he came up around the back of them, and he did get the positional advantage. With the AK and Kevlar, this could be a horror show for Epsilon. He's going to peek around, he's going to land the kill. And backs away, and he saw the bomb drop as well. So vital information for NIP exists, is good for a second. Beautiful individual performance. And just like that, Epsilon go from having a couple of aces up their sleeves to absolutely nothing. They have to go all in on this A push right here, right now. They have a lack of grenades to use. They've got an op to aggress on the site in a 5v3. It's not looking good. And GeForce's in perfect position to strike again. It's going to be Pit that puts it down though. Onto Zelos. This funnels in Draken and Rez. Rez, what a one tap that is. He's going to be looking for a second one as well. There's just too many angles for him to cover, however. And finally will bite the dust.
Man, that smokes off of quad that we saw being thrown from a Squeaky. It allows your player in Squeaky to come out, maybe see around it, kill the player at quad. They mollied it out though, and I think it actually worked against them as opposed to for them. Now I think just the cross smoke, the molly at quad, spot the cross with your riflers in a main would have been more effective than smoking themselves out and giving them very few options. Rarely do we see a moment where Threat isn't having the biggest smile of his life, but in this situation, it's clear that NIP are explaining extremely well. They're also getting away with all of their read-based plays, meaning the counter boost, the put to Squeaky, right? The individual plays that you want to do only if you think that you can get the drop on your opponents, not to get in their faces, but to get around them. They're getting away with every single one. So that's a really good sign for them as well. Just from the perspective of how prepared they are, or how confident they feel versus their opponents. How much do they really know these guys? It seems like NIP feel like they do.
Just playing solid CS on top of that as well, you know, I've made very few mistakes.
Yeah.
Keep it in mind, if you just join us, the Epsilon have 3 rounds as a result of winning the pistols. Another day, this could be 9-0 quite comfortably. Yeah, right, be disappointed he didn't get himself at least a kill, but they almost line up for exist. A couple of opportunities go past NIP. Bomb planted, but we've seen retakes from this position before. Disco Doppler's low, as is Freddy. That really did 1 damage. Just CS nade things. Another grenade comes in, he's down to 30 now. He's being chipped away from NIP. Rez has made noise and he gets punished and he turns to his left-hand side and it looks like it could be another retake coming to fruition. Disco Doppler's the next to fall. He's going to have to come up to Draken, who's one of the best players for Epsilon, but the bomb's been defused already. NIP with 7 consecutive rounds.
One piece of information that you can discern without actually knowing or playing the game is that a lot of teams play retake on A, right? And that's because there aren't enough spots on the site that you can stay in that are protected from nades that give you an advantage in your 1v1 that you can stand to make the whole a viable option. And we saw Epsilon there, everybody got into the site, they found relatively good spots, but NIP perfectly comfortable to retake it. And Epsilon in that situation basically should have found a way to use another one of their players, maybe to hit big flank or to get a little bit aggressive so that they can get the man advantage moving into NIP pushing onto them. And because they let NIP take their time, they lost because they played standard.
It's a really good point you raise, one of the reasons why we're seeing them more focused towards mid and B as opposed to A. They have full confidence in get right, but also the same retakes. Much more likely endeavor to take up. So Epsilon are kicking themselves because they've had opportunities, they've had the chance to get themselves more rounds, but they seem to be tripping at the last hurdle. As for this round, they have 4 smokes still in play. They have the weapons you'd want in this scenario, but it's going to be another A hit. 3 players from NIP though find themselves on the B side of the map. Here comes the charge, get right again. That's to be a linchpin for NIP, going to be hiding in the smoke. Are they going to expect this? They could have walked right past him, we know. Get right has such crazy in-game IQ. Is he going to make it work again? He comes through the smoke. First frag comes down, not going to get any more done, but at least the call will come through now. It's definitely an A hit, there's no fakes today. Draken again with his AWP. This is a much more winnable position though for Epsilon now in this 3-on-3.
Yeah, 3-on-3 over 4v4 or 5v5 any day, for sure, in the after plan.
Flashes down, but it's Draken who's gone down first, and you can see the shoulder just peeking round the corner. A pixel perfect shot from Pit. Leaves Zelos scratching his head on quad. Guys, what's going on is probably the last thing that went through his mind except for the bullet.
I have a serious distaste for how common it is for Epsilon to just 5-mana site. Instead of having someone hang out the extremity of the map, work around something by himself, maybe have Zealous go lurk out mid. Instead, they have NIP conditioned to knowing that Epsilon are going to go on A site and have all their players there. So from that perspective, why not have someone walk out middle and try to flank highway, or have someone push through B really quickly off of that take? It's been obvious that every time Epsilon take a site, they're going to take it number one, but also they're going to get everybody out on the site. There's going to be no one else to watch a flank except from maybe in a main, which means they're conceding so much map control that they can have for free, but they don't even have the knowledge that they can make a big flank because they haven't tested it ever.
Maybe that's what's going through their minds right now.
The one time you can get away with it on B, right, where you don't play retake on B. It's much too hard to retake. On A, it happens all the time. But instead, Epsilon are just playing right into that by getting everyone on the site. So if they were to perform a similar strategy, but get away with a B take and they get the bomb down, I feel like they have a much better chance of actually closing out the round. But the issue is they might have a little bit of PTSD because the last time they tried to contact rush B, they weren't even able to get in the site really, right?
Yeah,
they came down that 2v2, but because Zealous were able to get those two fantastic frags. But apart from that, 4v2, you know.
Yes, we have really only seen one B play, and they got pretty comprehensively pushed back. But tactical timeout has came in, as you can see on the screen right now. We'll see Epsilon hopefully making some changes. When they got on A, typically they're only going into squeaky or they're going A main, that's it. As you said, they're not pushing up mid, they're not even trying to push towards car and hide on the Jennies even, or use the smokes and hide in them as we saw Get Right do.
If you're going to lose your,
No, go ahead.
If you're going to lose your retake, with the other team keeping all 4 members alive, all 3 members alive, why aren't you just sacrificing someone to go out there, be a martyr, either get 2 kills or don't? You still have a better chance to win a round compared to the rounds that you lost in the past, right? So maybe, you know, throwing someone out there to be super aggressive in the 5-man, or instead having someone come around, try to make a play. I mean, yeah, you're putting them at risk, but at the same time, you're not winning otherwise.
Worrying thing for me as well from Epsilon is that NIP's T side isn't a weakness either. Like, they're just as good, if not stronger, on their T side since threats came into the forefront. So there is no easy rounds from this point forward in Epsilon. It's not a case of saying, okay, well, just weather the storm, get 5 or 6 rounds, we'll be fine in the second half. No, it's probably only going to get harder from this point forward. Yeah. So you've got to start to pull the trigger on some of these rounds. Let's see if you have maybe called what's going to come up here, Lon, is when you see more of a mid-centric push, maybe even a B play come to fruition.
Yeah, now we do have Epsilon in their default, which I think they are afraid to stay in. Oh, there's a peek, that's dangerous. Oh, and Get Right gets away with a squeaky push once again. And you know what, I think Rez was actually dedicated to watch it, and yet Get Right still comes ahead.
It's so smart though from Nip. When you see a tactical timeout come for the opposition, you know something's more than likely going to change. Therefore, react accordingly. Do something crazy yourself. Just try and completely cut them down before they can get the strats. Now Get Right is going to go back in. That's so ballsy. He had like 20 health left.
Yeah, and it's, you know, they had the 5v4, but I guess they figured that would be a good way to use them. And you know, when you're up so many rounds, you do have to keep throwing curveballs, right? You got to piss off your opponents.
Right. You've got to get that tilt in.
Yeah, you got to get the tilt in. Exactly.
Ooh, Freiburg's going to be tilted. Mid-range headshot. Good night, Forest. We've seen him hold it down by himself before, but peeks out on it prematurely before that flash had a chance to explode, and in doing so now, Nip have to retake on the B site. We've already said it's much harder to get this successfully done. Bomb planted. Freddy on headshot. Peering across the lower. Pit could be coming in. Exist also alive just for a couple more seconds before Draken takes his life away, and so has Pit. Much better from Epsilon. Good entry frags onto the B site, and they are going to be rewarded with a 4th round.
Yeah, definitely. They actually made it quickly. It was NIP to not forfeit checker control, but Freiburg went down without a trade, right? Not rare to see from him, but ultimately they got away with it, and it looked very clean. I wonder if they could do it again. There's a part of you that wishes, once you win that round, right, that one rifle round, that you just do the same thing over and over again. You're going to assume that your opponents will try to adjust based on that, so you are tempted to maybe we should go A now. But there's also the thought that it's, you know, your opponents double second guess themselves, excuse me. And so it's a huge mental battle to decide. Do we do the same thing as we did last round, or do we work the round differently, go back to it, or do we just come up with something new?
It's almost like reverse psychology. This is why a lot of people, myself included, it's like a game of chess almost, CS at times. You're trying to play your opposition into precarious places, and what was an attempted boost up, but you can see the Epsilon are waiting for this. They're hoping, they're praying that Nip go for it, so they give Grab them a free frag across. We disco Doppelness watching it. There's the Molly and the headshot down to Freiburg. Good passage of play from Epsilon. A minute to play with, but we've seen them stumble at this situation before.
One pattern that Epsilon seem to have picked up on is that if they wait long enough, NIP will find a spot to push. It's just that NIP have almost always found the one weakness that Epsilon weren't watching. This time, Epsilon come out 5v4. And it looks like B-Site is the one that is a little bit more tender right now. They've only got a single player defending it from Ben. So the rotates are starting to come out. And here we have finally not a 5-man. Rez on the other side of the map throwing a little bit of a distraction, and that is going to pull a rotate. All of them, in fact.
Pit second guesses himself. He did stay on B after all. We can see finally a fake comes in. It does catch NIP unawares. The flashes are on point, but so is Exist. A big kill. Pit is trying to put down the spray, but slightly whiffs it. 10 seconds to go, however, and the bomb is out in a really sticky situation. But Rez somehow, someway gets the frag, and now around the backside and try and make this work. That being said, the bomb's been stopped from being planted with a second to go.
Oh no.
NIP have crushed the dreams of Epsilon and pick up a 9th.
I have to wonder what went wrong mid-round there, because they had such a good take. They actually got on the site. They had Rez cause a fake. He pulled all the rotates besides Pith, who was smart enough to know that that's not enough to pull 5 people away from the site, or two exactly holding it. But the thing was, they didn't smoke CT. They didn't smoke Heaven. They tried to rely off getting the entry fast and getting into the site, but the rotates came out, and kills came from CT because the smoke wasn't crossed. Wait, the what?
You what, mate?
The cross wasn't smoked. I mean, that's the second time that happened on B, and I have to wonder why. I mean, I think they actually ran out of smokes there, and so that's why I'm kind of questioning, did something happen mid-round where they used the smoke they didn't expect to, or someone didn't have one to begin with, and won't get right with the spray and a squeaky.
That's the perfect timing. Exists. He's been trying with 2 kills as well, and there's Get Right for a second, and a third. Total shutout for lots of frags. 10-4, and Epsilon must be reeling after that opportunity. I'll be thinking, what if we did get that round a couple before? NIP looking commanding so far on their cash performance.
Yeah. No, game of ecos for Epsilon. Always been on the back foot, spending down to 0 for the most part here, even on this final round.
Did Zealous get rifled straight? He's down to 70 already. Did he get right clipped?
Salt.
We spoke about Zealous, right? Yeah. Get shanked at spawn from your own teammates. Feels good. Also, there's an auto sniper. I just witnessed that on Pit. May have dropped it. I swear I saw an auto sniper. It is the last round, it would make sense. In that context, you can tap through mid. It's like Epsilon going back to what they're comfortable with, which is the A hit, but unfortunately they haven't really yielded much from that. Only 1 rifle round in this entire half. That's what it's saying.
Yeah, you know, NIP just have conditioned them into being scared of everything right now, you know. And that is actually buying them so much time. And Pith finds that kill on a boost. The man who should kind of peek last dies first and, you know, Get Right, doing what he does at the A site, finds 2 frags.
He has been monumental for NIP thus far on their CT side. I think the other teams watching this game are probably thinking, okay, maybe we should steer away from Cash. Maybe we shouldn't play against them on Cash, because
how do we veto NIP? That's the question.
Exactly. Because as they said in the desk, NIP play pretty much everything apart from what, Overpass?
Yeah.
Which is typically their ban, so they're a hard team to ban out in the first place. I think Get Right finishes that half 18 for 9 with something like 4 assists. Massive.
Yeah, massive. Yeah, and he was the man, you know, on the site that they kept going to most, so. Critical performance, and Epsilon, apart, you know, if you just dissect these 4 rounds, have 1 rifle, right, 2 anti-ecos and 1 pistol round.
Yep.
The pistol round was played really nicely. What was ironic was that was a round where they had Freddy on boost, and he was the man to cause a distraction at mid. They did that one other time and won a round because of it, right, where they had not just all 5 players trying to take a site. And the thing is, right, if you 5-man a site, that means that you have so little faith in your entries that you're sacrificing the ability to close out a round late because you think you're going to get the bomb down just to make sure that you get in. Since when do you need 4 people to actually get frags to take a site, right? That means you have so little faith in your ability to trade that you're sacrificing the late round, you know, to go all in, try to get a plant.
It's very true. It's like risk versus reward.
Yeah.
You don't have much to fight at the death of rounds, and that's what we saw. There's a lot of diffuses from NIP in that first half performance that could have easily gone the way of Epsilon, but I mentioned this before, the stats for Epsilon and pistol rounds is pretty sick. 75% won after 19 pistol rounds. So they're going to have to make that one better here. You've got to feel if they've got any chance of bouncing back in this map. Heavy stack over on B. 3 players situated on that side of the map for Epsilon. And it is a retake being set up from Epsilon. Disco Doctor, the only player here. Can he get any kills? No, it's not. Bomb's already been planted. So, Epsilon, how's your retake looking?
Yeah, let's see. Now we have 2 people pushing out a Squeaky here. You see, they're not staying in the site for the kills. They realize they have to push out, but Draken actually doesn't get caught off guard. Get Right goes down.
It's a big opening pick, but the position's looking pretty good for NIP. They've lost the second player. Here comes Forrest, though. Hits in the perfect position, maybe on quad. With his block, he's going to force the USPs to come close range. That's where those blocks will be so deadly, but he's going to be outnumbered. The jumping, leaping Freddy puts him down, and now Forrest again with his USP goes big, and the bomb's going to be so close to detonating. I think Rez just about has it, leaving it close, but that's both pistol rounds now won from Epsilon.
Yeah, and there it is. There's Epsilon to completely forfeit the A site, win on the retake. You know, it's funny that they can't learn from their own setups, as they kind of failed to make that proper adjustment in the first half. But they do it well. They perform the retake. They're not even in a position where they're pushing B, right? They're playing dedicated 2-in checker that makes the rotate even longer to deal with an A hit, and they still managed to close it out. Now, it seemed like NIP, apart from a couple of trades, could have got close to winning it, but isn't much more to say. 5 players in Squeaky. No one can throw a smoke from here, really.
Oh, this could be brutal to watch. You feel Epsilon have this in the back. P90! 50 bullets of doom and misery, and Zelos picks up a quick fire 4-man.
Only needed 4.
That's one of the reasons why I was wincing a little bit when I saw the moves through Squeak. I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
It's going to be lambs to the slaughter.
Just a Bastion play the game.
Yeah. 4 kills, Zelos padding those stats. Top fragging for Epsilon. 16 for 12, Get Right, 18 for 11 now. Epsilon going for the cheeky push through mid. There are AKs to come against them, so actually almost hanging themselves on the noose, just walking into the trap. We've talked about this before, NIP will play extremely passively, waiting for those CT pushes, so Epsilon have to be so careful they don't fall into this trap again in the future.
Wow, look how scrambled the CTs got there in that moment. They had 3 players in B all of a sudden. Faced 1 person, that's Forrest, outside of B, causing so much fear in the hearts of Epsilon that they rotated 3 into the site and had left it, but now have given up mid. 4v4 without mid control, 2 inside of B, and I wonder if NIP can get the info here to avoid the site, or if they'll decide to push into it. I'm kind of curious. Now, there's no really good way for them to clear out checker without actually peeking it or semi-committing, but for some reason, they've decided to hit A. It seems like the better decision.
But this is the difference that we see between the teams. Forrest is pushing up mid. He is going to have the 2-pronged attack coming up highway. This keeps Rez busy, but Rez, in fairness, will stand his ground. That eliminates that threat that spams through the smoke. Pit goes down next. Freiberg from Forklift will do the damage. Second smoke comes out. Nice shot from Exist. 2-on-2 with a P90 retake. Exist actually has to turn tail and run away, as that incendiary will buy a little bit of time for Epsilon, but the bomb will be going down regardless. What a shot that is from Freddy. Now that leaves Exist all by himself. He's been performing pretty solidly today. Flashbang lands in his face. Going to be lining up for him potentially. He's got no grenades to use. Going to have to come down to raw AK fragging. Power until Zelos lands the headshot. Around that, I thought Epsilon had no hope of winning. They have picked up for themselves 7 rounds now. Yeah,
that was lethal. Really nice. And again, as you mentioned, I mean, it was very standard, right? 4v4, you get mid control, you leave one white box, you go 3A main, and you split the site. Now, Forrest dying first makes it a whole different story, right? The man who is supposed to get someone in the side of the head instead turns into the opening frag for the opposing team. And that means that these players in A main, not only is the jig up for them, right? They see the split is clear, they're committing at least half their players to A, which means it's obviously going to be that site, but they're down a man, so that Rez can focus on just players coming outside onto the site via default, and he can expose himself to that angle that is highway if it means to give him a better shot of winning those trades versus A main players. So a lot of advantages coming out of that one kill.
The domino effect of Counter-Strike continues, and now it's all on Nip to charge down and just keep pushing forwards. Freiburg with 2 kills is pretty massive. A bomb plant would be pretty much job done. Any more than that would be a nice bonus for NIP. Damage being inflicted though from the open lower. Bracken, I think he may have landed a shot there. Partially onto Exist, who's down to 14. Pit full health, and this is where you'd love to have some HEs or some incendiaries. Surely not, Nip. Surely you can't pick up this round on just pistols and nothing else. This will be a crippling blow to Epsilon, not just their confidence, their economy, their round wins, everything. Exist is the next player to step up and land himself a frag. Can Disco tee off on one more player? It comes down to Exist versus Stoplin. He's going to try and make amends from that previous round. Nice movement from Disco. He lands the shot, but he's got no kits. He doesn't have the time. Nip are going to take the round.
Wow. I mean, that was pretty fantastically played, and it came way too close. Nip do close it out, however, and that is deadly. That's lethal. That's it. I mean, that's one of the final blows that Epsilon are going to be able to take, and to do it on an eco. And Doplin putting so much effort here. You almost wish, for the sake of Epsilon, that he was holding the site as opposed to having to retake it, but with no kit. I mean, even with a kit, he wouldn't have had time. So just credit to Exist for playing it so well there on that box.
Played it very well, but some questions have to be asked from Epsilon. Freiburg entered with what, P250, I think?
Right.
Just 2 kills come from him alone. Pretty ridiculous. So there's going to be another buy-in from Epsilon, albeit with a max 7, but Freddy's made it work. He's going to push through the smoke with a flashbang. He can't see a single thing. Picked off from Exist. Blocked out the smoke.
I think there was a concatenation of flashes there as he turned from one but got hit by another, so.
Nice shot from Draken. This is where Epsilon typically crumble though, in these 3-on-3, 2v2 scenarios. It's going to have to change right here, right now. Bomb slowly traversing its way over onto the A side of the map, so becoming A main side. CTs have 2 players here, with Draken's AWP on B. The smokes, the molly is going to be tossed onto the side. Double crossfire is set up from Epsilon. Disco, close proximity, gets a flashbang in his face, but Rez is there to dig his teammate out of a large hole. Disco with the second frag. Bomb's been dropped now to Lone Forest. He knows the players around here in the smoke, but he misses out on his opportunity, and now they're going to double stack it. The AWP is not the greatest weapon to play close proximity with in this kind of scenario. And he has to be rid of a third play. You can see that his game sense was working, but his aim slightly off.
Yeah, the timing, didn't reward him, but it seemed like he had a good idea of where the next person would be. And it was a good flash onto the site, but really good from Epsilon to support their teammates there. All 3 of them having good teamwork and keeping everyone alive is excellent for them, considering they just won such an expensive round, right? One that resets them, steals their loss bonus. And actually, this one puts NIP back on a save, so even though it seemed like NIP didn't invest that much into the last round, bought up and won it, they don't have enough money to put one together after a loss. So very fortunate for Epsilon, now in a much better place.
Last time Epsilon played any team worthy of a top-level mention was Hellraisers back at Gfinity. They were 16-12. Now they're on the brink of maybe getting themselves a step closer to equality. It's still going to be an uphill climb. That climb has started. Let's go. It's starting to tee off on the A site. There is a boost in. They're not going to expect this. What can Freiburg do with this information? He can land the frag, and now he's going in for a second one. He catches out Zelos, who was switching weapons. What a boost that was from NIP. The clarity of mind. Going for a play like that is so cheeky, and now Epsilon again find themselves in such a bad position. I'll be remembering the last time that Nip won an eco. They still have grenades to make this a bit more difficult for NIP to dig themselves in. Freiburg's Eve damage has to come out, and he will do so, but he's greeted by Draken's AWP. There's Freddy as well, 2-on-2 now. Draken going to be pushing in first, lands a beautiful shot onto Forest. That leaves Exist all by his lonesome, and he's an A main. The bomb is planted for him. The defuse is coming in. Actually, it's not planted for him, pardon me. And it's going to be defused overall from Freddy. I thought it was out in the open for A main.
Wow.
How unfortunate.
My goodness. Wow, that brings us so much closer, this win, that it seemed like NIP were about to get away with another eco. Comes down to the last 1v1 in the defuse, and there's Freiburg on the boost. Super critical play, and he turns it into 3 kills after getting pushed out into the worst spot by that Molotov. forced to take a duel, and then coming away with the frag because no one's watching it.
That's so good. And then as a result of losing 4 players in that round, Epsilon now only have a UMP and a FAMAS.
Right, they've got a worse behind them. They
NIP
just
have
lost.
by far the better arsenal coming into this round, so you can see the importance that even if you lose from a T's perspective, take as many CTs with you as possible, get right. He's the master of spray.
That spray was ridiculous for him to hit that last bullet though.
Really, there is no one that gets close to him when it comes to spray control. Showing once again, Epsilon right off the bat in round 22, in all sorts of trouble. Pit is going to be making a move through Squeaky very shortly. 3 players coming up into a main. They can't even go for the boost, and we could see this 2-pronged attack once again. You feel it's probably on the shoulders of this man, Draken, to get some serious work done with this AWP.
Definitely.
If he misses, chances are Nip just overrun the site. Pop flash in. Here comes the charge. Disco maybe just being a bit too caught in 2 minds. It's going to cost him his life. But now Draken, there's too many players to contend with. Surely misses his first chance. Misses the second one. That cost him his life. That's going to cost Epsilon the round as well. Zelos has absolutely no hope of getting this done. And Forrest puts him down with a Glock of all weapons.
A lot more faith, I think, in that hold than I think actually came about because of it. Now there's like Draken in a spot where he's sitting in quad. I mean, he has the opportunity to get a couple of frags, misses both the kills. They come very close. Nip end up not losing a single player though on that execute. Epsilon 9 rounds on a save. And around that, it seemed like each of those trades could have gone a different way, but instead, NIP make it a dominant performance, dominant win, and now have tons of confidence or one away from match point, or from putting it on match point.
Ultimately, Epsilon are into that last chance to win territory in the next round. That's where everything is going to come to a head. Unless they can use these Eagles and Disco, Zelos, plus Freddy as well. Get right up on the boost. Not the first time we've seen this. Epsilon, as a result of their lack of weaponry and utility, going to be giving up mid by and large. If Draken peeks this, he could very well be on the receiving end of a battering, hence the shoulder piece with the knife instead. Just give him that extra movement. Smoked out, have to duck away. Now Nip are putting their sights onto B, but look at this launders. There's 4 players from Epsilon on B. This could be a catastrophe for NIP. Oh, but Freddy misses his chance. That was a kill he had to land, and that puts Rez in a horrible place. Are they going to expect a double stack? Yes, they do, and Freiburg this time will return the favor onto Rez. I think the Disco landed it on him in midair beforehand. Delos now from headshot lives up to his name. He's drilled down, as is Draken. And now Disco in a 1-on-3. Bomb's about to get planted. He stands the AK-47, only 4 bullets in the clip though, and he's made them work. First kill comes his way. 2 more players, 30. Oh, I guess 30 health left. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Rip.
I thought for sure that second player inside of Checker was going to be able to get a free frag. You know, Freiburg's probably going to come out of pouring out of vents. He killed the 1 player there in Checker. Instead, Freiburg waits in vents, a flash comes out. It's such good discipline from NIP, even versus the eco, after getting the entry, not indulging on taking the site too quickly, but instead playing it slowly, knowing that if we play this round out properly, just like we would versus a rifle, we'll win 100%. And save themselves from getting killed in that moment. Freddy also goes down, and actually, it's a double save from Epsilon.
Yeah. So, going to be putting all their eggs into the 25th round basket. That's, of course, you assume they lose this round. If they don't, then you can just scrap what I just said, but especially conceding the first frag doesn't look good. So that would be 6 points in a row, 6 rounds in a row they'd have to save to take us to overtime. Close range affair from Draken. P250 really solid at this range, so if Nippon's careful, he's got his crosshair perfectly put ahead height as well, but unfortunately a bit too slow on the trigger. What's next on the chopping block? Freiburg executes him. Rez and Disco have the... Well, I don't envy their situation, let's just put it that way, Lucas.
Have to agree with you there. Dolphin's going to come up with a flash, and hopefully, no, not quite everyone was blind. I think there was another situation where they actually flashed at the exact same time that one of Epsilon tried to flash themselves through.
Bomb has been planted.
Whereas, can you take any snip plays down with you? No, is the answer from Forest. So we find ourselves in sink or swim territory now for Epsilon.
Yeah.
They've double ecoed to get a solid buy in this round, but they can't afford to make any more mistakes.
It's super close in some senses, right? I mean, 6 rounds means you win a couple in a row. Actually, NIP's money are bolstered as well. They're gonna have to win at least 3 rifles in a row just to put NIP on a save. They're in Hell's Kitchen at the moment.
And they've gone for this stack over on the B side. NIP playing incredibly slowly onto A. Get Right's already on the lockers. Disco's not going to expect this. He's going to be easy pickings, and Get Right connects the dome shot. And now, here comes the charge through Highway. Not the first time we've seen this. They're taking complete control over the A site. There's only one more defender. There's Zelos. He's desperately trying to claw on, but he had fire beneath him. He had Exist to his right-hand side. He goes down. Maybe they're not going to expect Draken to already be in Squeaky. Indeed, they're not. But his position is now given away. Looking for the second frag. Can't connect it. Onto Freiburg. Now he has to hope that his other 2 teammates can get some work done, because Draken to be is able to get out of the field without getting wrecked. Off court, Forest up on boost, does the damage, and now it's Draken on 1 HP, and they know where he is. This is it, ladies and gents. Nip will be taking this 16-9, unless Draken can play out of his mind, and it's not going to happen. NIP, the favourites for this match, show us why. Convincing victory in the end.
In style and confidence, NIP come through round after round, just imposing their will over Epsilon with a ton of swagger. I think they look extremely good on their first map of the day. At Epsilon, maybe had a couple of things that you could say, okay, they played that really well. It's nice from them. Individual performances. Zelos early on seemed like they had the kind of individual talent to maybe stand up in a couple of rounds, but overall, NIP just straight outclassed them.
Yes, fair analysis of the game overall. We didn't see anything truly spectacular from NIP. It was just solid Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
It was just go to work, show up. That's what you're expecting from a first map performance. And of course, the Epsilon had really good A takes actually on their T side, but it was those retakes that kept coming in that really hurt them. And another day, they could have got an extra 4 or 5 rounds on their first half, which would have put them in a much better position going through into the CT side. But there you have it. NIP just retake kings today.
Yeah, retake kings. And I think it's kind of funny because fundamentally it seemed like NIP were just making sound decisions that, as you mentioned, just playing good Counter-Strike, right? But it was such a stark contrast to Epsilon, who it seemed like could have been making some decisions much more differently, right? They could have been playing their retakes a little bit more aggressively, with maybe just a little bit more of a caveat to it, as opposed to, this is a site, let's use all our men to go and move into the site, right? That seemed to be the strategy that wasn't working, and it took them too long to adjust, right?
Yeah, indeed. That's enough from us, though. We do have Smix on the interview on the stage, with an interview lined up.
That is correct. I do have Freiburg next to me. First of all, congratulations. That was a very solid victory from you guys. And despite losing both pistol rounds, it seemed that NIP was always able to take back control of the game. So how would you describe that game from your guys' perspective?
I mean, I think we played good as a team, and we didn't really plan that much for this game. We just played our game, and we've been working on the pistol rounds, but we're still somehow losing them both. But I think we played good in general. We just had, the game running, trying different strats and setups as CT, and yeah, I think we played good.
And speaking of playing well, NIP in general, ever since that miracle run at Malmo where you guys became champions, you guys have been looking very, very good. You reached the semifinals at ESL Pro League Finals, and then you recently won your group at E-League. So how would you currently rate how NIP stands?
I think we're in a quite good form right now. I mean, there's still going to be a lot of tough games. Teams are getting really, really, really good. So we have to play our A game to win the games. But I mean, I think we're still one of the best teams in the world right now, and there's no team we can't beat. So we just gotta play good on our game day and make sure to win all the tournaments now.
Well, I most recently read an interview that Flusha gave, and he mentioned that despite all your recent success, he feels that if he were to point out one weakness of NIP, it would be that if a team were to study you guys really well, then they would know how to counter and play against you guys. So what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, we do have our strats, but there's always way we can tweak our strats and make them look the same, but then we go to the other bomb site, and we haven't really used all our strats. We're still doing new strats and everything like that, so, I mean, sure, anti-strat does come at us.
All right, and last but not least, of course, in the rest of your group, you have Hellraisers or Godsent, and I'm wondering how you think that outcome will come out and if there's a team you prefer to play against.
I mean, both Hellraisers and Godsent are two good teams, and I mean, if they have a good day, they're going to be a really tough team to beat. So we just have to go back and focus for the next game later on tonight, and I think if we play as good as we did right now, we're going to win.
All right, well, thank you very much, Freiburg. Of course, with that, NIP will win our second match of the day. Let's head back to the desk with Machines to go over that match.
Thanks very much, Sue. Freiburg there, always ever humble in front of a Swedish crowd as well. So a standard start for NIP, making things look relatively easy. But Epsilon as well, putting up a more significant fight than Ents. I do want to highlight they did pick up both of those pistols, though. Vendetta for Flaren. Kind of not too much to say about that one, is it safe to say?
Well, I guess, you know, we talked about in the pregame the fact that you can learn a lot from your losses. I think there's a couple of very obvious things that Epsilon can work on. One of them being their afterplant situations on T side, because they got onto that A-bomb site many times, but they kept making the same mistakes over and over again. And we were sitting in the green room with Dupree as well and talking about it, the fact that the way that we're playing their afterplants, it didn't really seem like they actually trusted each other a lot of the time. So you'll have, you know, one guy will call out, okay, there's one guy coming in through forklift, and then you'll have 4 people from Epsilon looking for the same guy, instead of just trusting that someone's going to hold that angle and you got that coverage, so you can actually focus on what your area is. And when you don't do that versus a team like NIP, you're just going to lose those retakes, or you're going to lose 2 retakes over and over again, and that's what happened.
There was some glimmers of hope for Epsilon, though. A couple of individuals you can see there on the stats, Doppler, and I believe it was Zealous actually, standing alongside and standing shoulders above the rest. Robin, was it mostly negative when you were reviewing Epsilon's play?
I mean, they won both pistols, and won the anti-ecos as well, which is nowadays very hard to do. Yeah. So they got essentially 5 free rounds, right? 1 weapon round on that T side. Switching over, looked good on the C side in the beginning as well. Sure, the score might say it was a little bit more even compared to the Astralis Ends game. At the end of it, though, it really wasn't. As Ben was saying, afterplan positions were very off. They hit the bomb site. They got the bomb site down. It always came down to afterplan for clutch situations, which NIP were just better at overall. For Epsilon as well, hitting that A bomb site again and again. They had a lot of success on that B bomb site. Actually, they got in there. They got the bomb down, and overall, for NIP's weakness, actually, like the B bomb site, there is something to look into, because if Gedra plays the way he does on the A bomb site, it's going to be extremely difficult for any team that ends up playing versus NIP on cash. But yes, you can definitely take away a lot from this game if you're Epsilon. Just look into positions, after plant, even retakes, a little bit slow, aggression play as well, 1 by 1 every single time. So yeah.
Sounds like you're talking a little bit about kind of some CS fundamentals that Epsilon could actually kind of do some work on.
I think that they came into this game with one approach, and that was show no fear, right? Just go in and try and play your own game. Problem is that if you go too far with that, then all of a sudden you're going to end up just running into their crosshair, and we saw that they lost. I don't know how many entry frags that they ended up losing, but sure, they ended up winning a few of them. But if you don't do it together, you're going to have a much harder time in getting something done, especially when it comes to map control.
Yeah, and I think oftentimes you talk about it is fundamentals, but that's the first thing that kind of goes out the window for a lot of these up-and-coming teams, the fact that they don't have that foundation to their play that they can always fall back on. So it's like Fifth says, they kind of go gung-ho, all out and hope for the best, and if it doesn't really work, then they're a bit stuck as to what to do. But that's only something you're going to learn through experience and actually playing for a long time.
Which is exactly what the Ninjas have done.
Exactly.
So it's a simple step for NIP. They've gone and just picked up that first win alongside Astralis. So no surprises, nothing crazy, no curveballs just yet here in the groups. You can see Group B then. NIP going to be waiting for the victor of Hellraisers and Godsent. Epsilon thrown and thrust into the losers match. We'll be seeing the losers and the winners play as well later on today. But first we've got 2 more games to look forward to. In fact, the next one you can see there on your screens. Immortals versus SK is coming up next. There's a lot of questions surrounding this game. We've got Immortals just, failing to get to the major, now here, staying in Europe, and going to be looking to prove their worth in this event. Maybe stick it to the likes of Astralis and NIP. And then on the other side of it, you have SK Gaming, 2 stand-ins. It's looking a bit bumpy for the Danes, but they'll have Astralis waving that Danish flag in the crowd all the same. We're going to take a break, guys. When we do come back, it will be Immortals versus SK. But first, if you'd like a preview on that matchup or some statistics on SK, maybe you want to know just how good Get Right was holding that A site, like Fifth Laren said, you can check out the Score Esports. It's this application you can get on iOS App Store and Google Play, and enables you to keep track of CS and all your favorite esports. Right, I've done that thing, and now we're going to go ahead and say goodbye. NIP picking up the win versus Epsilon. A bit more convincing from Epsilon, though. 16-9 the final score, and we're back after the break with the Brazilian showdown.